All right, so today I want to talk about two cameras we actually own and use, and you've heard of these two before, the Nikon ZR and the RED Komodo X, on real client shoots. This isn't a spec battle or a pixel peeping video, so if you're in for that, I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed. But we really want to show you where these cameras feel identical, where they're completely different, and when choosing the wrong one can actually slow you down on a real shoot. Now, what makes this comparison super interesting is they're both inherently red. They share red color science, they both shoot red raw, and in real world situations, they actually match incredibly well. But they're built for completely different shooters and completely different productions. And that's where the differences really matter, and that's what we want to highlight today.
If you're watching this expecting a massive image quality difference, you're probably going to be disappointed. In interviews, branded content, corporate work, you're honestly not going to see a huge difference. Where things really separate is image flexibility, workflow, monitoring tools, and how these cameras behave in real productions. Let's start with the Nikon ZR. The ZR is a true hybrid camera. It shoots incredible video, it shoots great photos, and it's ready to go straight out of the box. One of the first things you'll notice is the screen. It's a fully articulated bright 4-inch display, and it's excellent. Compared to the Komodo X's fixed, non-articulating 2.9-inch screen, the ZR is just easier to live with day to day, especially when you're shooting solo or in tight spaces. Big screen, lightweight, no rig required. For one-man shoots or small crews, speed matters, and this camera is fast. It's lighter, easier to travel with, quicker to set up, and for most small businesses or corporate clients, it's the more affordable and more practical option. You're getting photo and video at a very high level in one body.
Now, the Komodo X is built for something very different. On paper, it has higher dynamic range and higher color bit depth, which means more room to push the image in post. This is where RED really shines. If highlights clip on the Komodo, you can often recover them in ways you just can't do it on smaller hybrid cameras. And that flexibility isn't just about the sensor, it's about the compression options. The Komodo X gives you multiple RED Raw compression choices, HQ, MQ, LQ, and even ELQ. That means you can shoot the same 6K RED Raw image while dramatically reducing file sizes when the project allows it. The Nikon ZR only offers a single RED Raw compression option, roughly sitting between MQ and HQ on the Komodo X. So while the image quality is excellent, the Komodo X gives you far more control over data rates and storage costs on longer shoots. Another huge difference between these two is the shutter behavior. The Komodo X has a global shutter. That means zero rolling shutter. No jello, no skewing, no weird warping when things start moving fast. So if you're shooting action, fast camera movement, or anything with a lot of motion, the Komodo X is A+ in this department. Now, to be fair, the Nikon ZR actually has a very fast rolling shutter readout, much better than a lot of its competition. It's really good. But global shutter is still global shutter, and for fast-moving scenarios, the Komodo X just handles it a little bit better.
Frame rates are another place where these differences might matter. The Komodo X can shoot up to 6K at 80 frames per second, while the Nikon ZR tops out at 6K 60. That extra 20 frames per second won't matter to everyone, but for sports, action, or stylized slow motion, it absolutely can. Now, let's talk about exposure and focus tools, because this is where the Komodo X really starts to feel like a cinema camera. RED's traffic light exposure system is one of the best tools in the industry. It clearly shows when highlights are peaking and when your shadows are getting crushed, no guessing. The Nikon ZR relies on waveform and histogram, which are totally usable. And with the latest firmware, Nikon also added a RED highlight clipping line, which is really helpful. Still, it's not as robust or as intuitive as RED's traffic lights. Focus is another big differentiator. The Komodo X has RED's patented edge focus, which is hands down one of the best manual focus tools I've ever used in a camera. The Nikon ZR has focus peaking, but here's the weird part. When you're shooting RED RAW with the R3D monitoring LUT, focus peaking doesn't actually display. It's a really strange quirk that really needs a firmware fix. Now, to Nikon's credit, the ZR's autofocus is excellent. It's genuinely up there with Sony, fast, sticky, and reliable. The Komodo X technically has autofocus, but it's not something you'd want to rely on for professional work. So if autofocus is critical to your workflow, the ZR definitely wins that category easily.
Okay, now let's get into the rigging and usability, which is where these cameras really separate. The Nikon ZR is ready to shoot out of the box photos and video. The Komodo X is not, and that's actually intentional. With the Komodo X, you're building a whole system. You're adding a monitor, batteries, accessories, but in return, you're getting professional I/O. SDI, V-mount batteries for long run times, and the option to add a dual XLR breakout box for proper audio inputs. It's designed to live inside a larger ecosystem, especially on sets with assistants or focus pullers. One thing RED absolutely nailed is the Komodo X phone app. You get full camera control, solid video transmission, and it actually works really well on set. That's something the Nikon ZR just doesn't have right this second. Maybe future updates will bring it up to speed, but the ZR phone app for video shooting is basically non-existent, which is a real advantage for the Komodo. Keep in mind the wireless control options extend to third-party monitors as well. If you're not in to pay the hefty $2,500 for the RED specific monitor, you can get monitors like a small HD or a Portkeys BM5WR, which gives you the same wireless control as you do on the app.
Here's a sleeper feature on the Nikon ZR though, internal 32-bit float audio through the 3.5mm input. That has genuinely saved us on interviews where a speaker's volume is all over the place. The Komodo is still the more robust pro setup overall, but when you don't have a dedicated audio person, that ZR feature is huge. Then there's the sensor conversation. The Nikon ZR is full frame. The Komodo X is Super 35. So when you're setting up a 2-camera interview, you might automatically assume the Komodo should be the A-cam. But then you stop and think, do I actually want full frame on my A-cam? Super 35 sensors lend well to already having a tighter framing, so sometimes you might consider the KX to be the B-cam. Part of the discussion for A-cam and B-cam isn't just sensor size, because often the A-cam has to be on longer on set during setup, so this is when the Komodo X, parked on a V-mount battery, edges out for the A-cam position. Plus, the wireless viewing on the app allows us to move around the set and see what's going on screen. At the end of the day, it's about the best option for the client, situation, and crew. That question alone makes this decision more nuanced than people expect.
Now, for most of our work, small businesses, corporate clients, branded content, the ZR is honestly the better tool. Doesn't mean that you can't break out the Komodo X and shoot all that content, just that the Nikon ZR is gonna give you a little bit more speed and you're gonna get the job done faster, usually with less moving parts, and potentially give your client even more content with the ability to shoot photos and videos back and forth. The ZR is just lighter, faster, easier, and delivers an image clients are more than happy with. The Komodo X comes into play when post-production flexibility is the utmost priority. Commercials, narrative work, feature films, larger productions where the camera needs to be integrated seamlessly with a bigger crew. And you know the best part? They're both inherently RED. Matching these two cameras is incredibly easy. If you're running interviews or a 2-cam setup, they pair extremely well, to the point where you're not even thinking about color matching in post. So this really isn't about which camera is better, it's really aimed at two totally different markets. The Nikon ZR is for hybrid creators, one-man crews, and fast-moving productions. The RED Komodo X is built for higher-end sets, larger crews, and maximum flexibility in post. Hey, we use both, and honestly, that's probably the ideal setup.
Hey, if this video gave you some additional insight into the differences between the Nikon ZR and the Komodo X, and when and where to use them, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I know some of you guys have been skirting around and haven't yet subscribed. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like this video and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Hey, we appreciate you guys a ton, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.